week 2 assignment. In this class, we were supposed to convert currency and then use that programming code to convert a pancake recipe. So the first thing we're going to do is open the NetBeans. So for my project, I had two different projects in NetBeans. Um, so in this one, I had a pancake one that was dedicated to the recipe conversion, which was with the converting the 8 serving recipes to 600 serving recipe. Then I had another project that was for the currency converter. So first we're gonna go to the currency conversion. I already have it open right here. So the first thing I had to do in this project was to start out with creating a class dedicated to currency converter. Well, first I had to have a package, so where both of the projects are going to be. That way, if I'm ever if I'm ever referencing another code that I made, it's already in the same folder. So I put currency converter and conversion rates both in the currency package, which is all in the same project. So I had to make sure that was accessible. So we'll go through the project. So the first line is gonna be the British pounds conversion. It's gonna have each and every currency around the world that like done in a line. So I have the British pound, Canadian dollar, the euro, Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, Nigerian naira, and Bitcoin. And one thing I had to get right was the how much these are compared to $1. I don't have to put the US dollar in here. I just have to put in how much a British pound is compared to a dollar. So if we go to, well, first on this line, print a line British pound conversion, it's referencing the this string right here, and it's referencing the conversion rates all in this class right here. So if we look through, they're all the same thing, amount dot euro, and it's all just a simple phrase that I know what I'm calling to. So for British pound, I'm going to call to pound British, Canadian dollar, dollar Canadian, etc., etc. So let's look at conversion rates. So the conversion rates are all equal to 1 USD. So the British pound is equal to 0.74, Canadian dollars 1.27. I added a few extra decimals to the to the right, just so that it can be more accurate. And it's shown. I just wrote in what was given to me on the currency website, shown right here. So if we look it up, it's all right here. The euro is to 1 US dollar is 8.7, and if we look at my project, 0.89. It's a little bit further, but it's the same thing. So if we go back to currency converter and we run this project, and we select the main class, it's gonna show all our conversions that I did, and it's gonna print currency converter converts 1 US dollar to the following currencies. The British pound conversion to 1 US dollar is 0.74, 0.127, etc., etc. But another thing I had to do was to put it out in this format. I had to have a header, which is right here, and it had to have its own method down below. And the header is just supposed to reference this piece right here. And the header means more than just one string. It's two different strings. Two different messages are supposed to come out in the following, like in the same way that I have it up here to down here. So the first line it's going to print out is currency converter, and then converts 1 USD to the following currencies. I can put as many like lines or any type of message I can put in there, as many as I want. As long as I put the header before or after, it's going to reference every single message that I put inside of this method. The second method that I have is the like the order of the message. So I have system out print line, British US dollar conversion, which is what's right here. I added a few spaces if you look up here so that they can all just look more uniform and more organized. It just looks more aesthetically pleasing. So yeah, it's gonna print out the message up above plus um, a few dotted lines. That way you don't have to. It's easier. That way you know which numbers correspond to which numbers, and then it has the formula. The formula is the most important part. This conversion rates multiplied by 1. Conversion rates is the class that is referenced right here, and the conversion rate is each selected number corresponding to whichever currency. So that when I type in pound.british, it's gonna reference in conversion rates. Pound.british is what? It's 0.74. So if we look here, I wrote down amount dot pound British, and then the first line is pound British, and it's going to multiply it by 1. And the multiplication by 1 is how many US dollars you want to multiply it by. So say I wanted 12 US dollars, I can just run the program again, and it should show me what 12 US dollars in the following currencies is going to be. But I also have to adjust the message up above so that I know it's not $1 anymore, it's going to be 12. So if we run it again, it's going to change the message and it's going to be 12 US dollars. So looking at this code that I wrote, this is only supposed to reference the main project. It's supposed to print out like a certain amount of lines with its amount that's supposed to be referenced in another class that has the amount in another one. These are the rates. And then there's going to be a second method that's going to have the message that the second message is supposed to be the header of the program, like right here, the two or however many lines you want to have, of 2 lines, whatever you want to say. And then the second message is going to show the what the message is supposed to be in any format. It can be this chunk right here, plus the dotted line, and then the formula. The formula is the most important part because that's what we need. That's the information that we need. So let's go back to the pancake recipe. So let me show you what the recipe we're supposed to be referencing. So we're supposed to reference a pancake recipe that's supposed to serve 8. So if we look at this, it's 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of white sugar, 1 1/4 cup of milk, 1 egg, 3 tablespoons of butter. And if we adjust it to, it only goes up to 300. So if I go to another page, it shows what 300 is. 56 1/4 cups. It's a lot, but it's the accuracy that I'm looking for. And what I figured out was if you take the 8 servings measurement, like say we're looking at all-purpose flour, and we'll just take that and take it to, instead of 1 1/2, we'll just do 1.5, and we'll take that and multiply it by the number that we need. And for example, we'll just use the 300 as a reference, as a test, just so that we know that our formula works. So we'll look back at the number. We'll take this number, 1.82, multiply it by 300, this amount of servings, right? And then we'll divide it by 8. So if we go to a calculator here, we'll take 1.5 times 300, and then we'll divide that whole thing by 8. The parentheses are most important because it means that you're dividing this whole number rather than 300 or 1.5. You want to make sure that you're getting this whole number and dividing it by 8 servings. So let's take it and do by 8. Press go. Scroll to the bottom, and you should get right here 56.25. And if we look at the 300 serving, the adjusted recipe, it shows 56 1/4 cups. If we do another one, we can see it already again. Let's try, we'll stick to whole numbers because a lot of these are adjusted so that it's cups, tablespoons, and baking. So we'll look at the eggs. So the eggs in the 8 servings recipe is 1 egg. Let's take the 1 egg, delete it, and it's 1 times 300 divided by 8. Press go, and the answer is 37.5 eggs. And if we look at the 300 recipe, it's 37 and a half eggs. So all this work tells me that this formula right here, that n certain number, whatever number it is, the measurement times 300 divided by 8 is how to get the servings or amount of tablespoons or cups that you need to put into the recipe. So let's say the end goal that we need right now is 600. We need 600 servings. So if we adjust it to 600 and we need each individual one, let's go back to my code. I adjusted it so that each of the numbers, let's run it so that we know. Select the main class, is 112.5 cups of flour, 262.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 18.75 teaspoons of salt. That's why these little dotted lines are important, because I know what it's referencing. That way I don't have to accidentally skip a line. I know that 18.75 means the teaspoons of salt, 75 tablespoons of sugar, 93.75 tablespoons of milk. The math is already easy. So 93.75 is 3/4 already. So if we look at what we did here at the top, it's a lot similar to what I did in the beginning. The currency converter to the pancake converter, conversion rates to the pancake measurements. So I just adjusted the print line, and the header is still in the same place. The only thing that is different is that the initial, like whatever the code is referencing, it's not going to reference currency converter, because again, that has a completely different set of information. It's going to show us the pound, it's going to show us Canadian dollars and its conversions. And in the second piece, it's going to look, in mine, and this one, it's going to show all of the, right here, for butter, it's going to be 3. Egg, 1. We're not looking at the cups, tablespoons, teaspoons. The one thing we're going to focus on is the numbers that correspond with the flour, the baking powder, with whatever type of food it is. So I simplified it, made it so that the messages, like the name of the variable, isn't too long. So for flour, I just have flour. Instead of all-purpose flour, I just put flour. Baking powder, I shortened it: salt, milk, eggs, butter, whatever. And it's now corresponding to 3, 1, 1.25, 1.25, 1.5, 3.5. And it should be a lot similar to the recipe that we looked at here, because this is the most important one. This is the original recipe. And then to multiply by 600, let's just say that 300 was 600. It should look a lot like this. The number should correspond to the 600 recipe. So if we go back to the currency converter, again, what my formula was to take a certain number, or the measurement number, multiply it by how many servings you need, and then divide it by the original recipe that you already have. So the original recipe was 8 servings, and the amount of servings that we need right now is 600. So I took the pancake measurements, again, referencing right here, the pancake measurement of butter, 3, egg, 1, milk, 1.25, and so on and so forth. And then we go back here, it takes the pancake measurement multiplied by 600 divided by 8, and we get 112.25. I know this works because I have tried to do it with the 300 and use this as a test. If it can show me the right numbers by using the same formula that I used here, the same equation, then that means it will work again. So that's how I know that it's accurate. I know a normal person wouldn't use 112.5 cups, but it's just it's what it would look like. If you know how to convert 125 to gallons and pints to a larger measurement, that way you're not being so tedious about your recipe, it'll be a lot easier for you, and it's just that simple. File our code into command line. I have a MacBook, so instead of using command or notepad, we use terminal. To start this out, it didn't work. I'm just saying now that I don't know what was wrong with my code. I tried to adjust it, but so far I'm sure that I have the right calling words, like what commands to use, but I can't understand if it's my own code or if it's the system in general. But I guess to start out is to go to the folder on your desktop or on your laptop or your computer of where the line of code is. So mine is, I'm referencing these two codes right here, pancake measurements.java or the pancake converter.java. So then I just type in cd desktop. And now because the desktop is behind the percentage, I know that that's where I am right now. So now if I call into the Java code, Java C, and then I type in the title or like the name of it, let's start with pancake measurements. So we know that it exists, but this is always the message that I get. Let's try to compile the Java converter. Same thing. And then the next step usually would be, it shouldn't even have this error right here, but the next step would be to run it. So it would be, instead of Java C, you would put Java and then the name, and then just leave out the Java, like these last few characters. So let's do pancake measurements. Yeah, this is usually what I get back. It couldn't run it because it was never compiled, and it was never compiled because there was an error in both of the codes. I think it was more than just an error. I don't know if it's the way I typed it or if it's my laptop. Maybe it's the way the way I set it up. So the way I initially set it up was opening text edit, creating a new document, changing the format to plain text, and then copying and pasting whatever I typed here into here, saving it as whatever it was on NetBeans.java. Make sure the .java is there. Saving it, it will be easier to save it in a place where you can easily access it. But if you are going to access it in a folder within a folder within a folder, you have to use the same steps that I did. So if it's on the desktop, do cd desktop. But say it's in a folder within the desktop, I'm already on desktop. So let's do cd Java. So I have a folder right here, cd Java. And now I'm in Java. And let's open the Java folder and let's open 2.5.pancake. And now we're in 2.5.pancake. And that's how far I got. I'm sure along the way I'll figure out what I did wrong. But that's what I have so far.